for me, I was under the impression that if I can make you laugh online with really good jokes, then you can trust me with your time to come out to a show, and I'll do the same.
The realest podcast in the world. Osama. Mohammed is not here today, unfortunately, but he'll be back soon, inshallah. We are the People's Podcast, the realest podcast, and today we have a special guest. I've been watching this individual for the past 4 years since COVID. Honestly, like when he came back on my FYP, I'm like, oh, I gotta get him back. I gotta get him if I can see him. Sammy Edan's a funny individual, comedian, humanitarian. He does a lot of work. Also, speaker. He speaks in certain events and like kind of encourages people to do their to master their product and like help motivate them. So, Sammy Edan, welcome, man. Appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you having me, man. I'm happy I'm back on your For You page.
Yeah, honestly, I'll tell you I remember because like early on in COVID, we never really had a discography for like comedians or like people to come on. So we're like, if we had hit you up at like early on, you'd be like, who are these two fools with no catalogs? In my head, I'm like, no, we have to build it up. So like, I swear to God, you come up, and it was the video which you made me laugh. Was so relatable. It's like when the fake offering, like you ask your boy, you want something, and he says, yeah. And he's like, yo. And made me laugh. So I'm like, okay, we have to try to get him on. And you were so like welcoming, obviously open to come on. So I'm like happy to like that you're on.
I'm happy that you said that because I in the beginning I was so hell bent on helping everybody get content out there because I mean it's all it's all luck at some point because you just keep putting out content and then one day it just blows up, right? So, but I remember when I was getting hit up by some people on podcasts and they're like, yo, can you jump on? And I was like, hell yeah. And I was their first guest. I was their first episode. And in this particular podcast, and I think maybe a couple others, have not released since.
Wow.
So the idea is that it's not just about the catalog. I was trying to help you get on. But you were using me to, which is fine. At the time, I was like, look, use me, benefit yourself. I'm cool with that. I'm just trying to help. But I don't want to help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves.
For sure.
Right? Imagine me calling up Mr. Beast and be like, yo, bro, like, I just can't. My videos just won't go viral, bro. Could you help me? And then he asked me, how many videos you put out? I was like, one.
Yeah.
He's going to... Like you don't even care enough about yourself to do this thing, so that's not time to ask for help. So when I see you guys, I'm like, oh, they've been doing this. They're gonna be doing this with or without me. I'm happy to jump on if it helps. Alhamdulillah. If it doesn't, I'm sorry.
Honestly, to add on to your point, I was watching a clip. I think it was on TikTok or maybe Instagram, but you were kind of talking to everybody, and this year, like you're invited to some keynote as a keynote speaker, and you're pretty much saying your first video is going to be shit. Like your thumbnail is going to be bad. It's going to be horrible. So it's like continue posting. I think I always tell people when they want to go start a podcast, I always use my first 50 episodes. I'm like, go watch how bad it was, because I'm like, even when you go to your first 100th versus your 500th episode, it's not going to be comparable because obviously you're growing as you're speaking. And the reason why I originally never hit, as you said, because a lot of people maybe just use you and they stopped recording. But for me, it was like I wanted to build my confidence. I guess also my co-host Mohammed, he also wanted to build his confidence. And we're like, we need to build our chemistry first, because as a guest, you're able to tell someone has chemistry. You're able to tell how strong they are as like podcast speakers. Also, if you come early on and they do really a bad job, you're not going to want to come back again. You're like, this was an awkward moment, because we've had guests who early on we took the risk, but they have said they want to come back. So I guess my question for you is, as a comedian or as a speaker, what's your advice to people when they are going after their dreams? Like, what do you try to tell them? What kind of keynotes you try to give?
First rule would be trying to figure out where you want to be, like what's the end goal, and then work backwards. So I need to make X amount of money per year to do this, whatever. Okay, so scale it back. How do I make that? Mm-hmm. And then, there's going to be some more fine tuning. Okay, well, what am I willing to do to make money? Am I willing to, make videos online, show my face? Am I willing to sort of just get a higher paying job? And so maybe, some sort of certificate or schooling comes into the picture. So yeah, it's just the principle of figuring out where you want to be and then work your way back. That's the main thing in terms of just trying to chart a path. And then, of course, for me, like religion is such a dominant thing in my life that, like, if it goes against my beliefs, morals, ethics, I don't do it. I wanted to be the biggest stand-up comedian at some point. I realized I actually was just chasing money, and I just so happened to be good at making people laugh, and so I was like, okay, stand-up is probably the best way to go. But in that journey, I found that I was cussing like crazy. I wasn't really in the places I wanted to be in. I was in comedy clubs, but there's a lot of drinking, there's a lot of hugs, a lot of dapping up, there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of whatever. And I typically do my part. I do my 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, and then I go home, so I'm not really around. But I just don't like being in those environments. But even if I were to be able to put up with the environment, I hated who I was
Yeah.
on stage. And so that I took that into account as well. So I'm okay. I want to be here, work backwards. I'm not willing to sell my morals to get it. So how do I do that? And so I scaled it back, um, and I just decided, okay, I'm gonna take all my whole set, scratch it, take only the clean parts, keep that, and then I'm gonna build a set slowly over time so that I can do 30 minutes of material, 45 minutes of stand up without a single cuss word. And that's the goal in stand up, but that takes a long time. So right now I just got back to the videos because stand up hinges on two things: A, how good you are, how funny you are, and then B is like, who knows you. If no one knows who you are, it doesn't matter how funny you are. They're not coming out to the show. So right now I'm working on the first part again. I kind of want to get back on people's For You page, and that's why I said in the beginning I'm happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, my advice would be those two parameters: A, morals and ethics, and B, figure out where you want to be, and then just walk it backwards and figure out, and that's how you chart your path.
I like how you said don't sell yourself out because I kind of had a similar story to how you were saying you want to be the biggest comedian. When I was younger, like maybe like when I was like grade 8, grade 7, I've always wanted to be the biggest celebrity at one point in my life. But obviously, I just know as I got older and I started interviewing certain guests or even having connections to certain people that I realized that your morals and your virtues that you do stand by do start fading away if you do live a certain lifestyle. So I guess for you as a comedian, because you said you like as soon as you're done your 20, 30 minute bit, you're out. Do you feel as if you're missing out as a comedian? You're like, oh, I know I could do more, or is it for you that you don't care? Like I'm here to make you laugh, and I'm gone. Like I don't care about what the money comes in, or I don't care about none of like the lifestyle. Seems like that's what I'm getting from.
No, I don't think I'm missing out. I think I leave at the opportune moment. I think most people, like, for example, we did a theater one time, like 300 to 400 people, and I had a great night, had a great set, everything was good, and then everyone wanted to celebrate by having a like an after party type situation, right? And I said no. I said, congrats on the night, guys. I really enjoyed it. I'll be here for the next night whenever we're doing comedy, but I don't go to these parties. So I went home, and my way of celebrating the time was I used to just go get like junk food. That was like my little like,
Yeah.
congrats, bro. Good night. So I don't think I messed up, because if you look at anybody who's like really good at their stuff, the more you focus on the craft itself, whatever it is you're doing, the better. So I think it actually helped me saying, no, I don't go do these things, because now I'm not getting into fights with random people because I'm not out. I'm not doing XYZ, I'm not doing this. I'm very easy to find if somebody wants to work with me. You know where my show is, come to the show. That's how I got signed. I got signed because somebody came to the show, watched my set, and then talked to me backstage. I didn't have to go to some party with some people and sit down at some weird, table where everybody's drinking and try to pitch myself. Alhamdulillah, I didn't have to do any of those things. It just sort of came natural.
I know you're saying right now you're focusing on your TikTok videos, and I've always been like curious about you specifically because the characters you play are so relatable in terms of like real life situations. Like I just mentioned earlier about the fake offering, which in my head I was like, that's all. Like it's like you're playing a character. It's like I know obviously like you obviously it's like this is the things that you're allowing us to think I would actually do this in reality. Like the fake offering thing, I get it. I get mad if
Uh-huh.
someone says sometimes yes to me, especially if I'm not close with you. I'm like, come on, bro, you just don't make me look like I'm the bad guy here, especially in front of everybody else. So my question to
Yeah.
you is, what's your favorite part about making your TikTok video? Is it the writing? Is it the filming? Is it building up the characters? What do you find is more entertaining?
The writing. Also, 100% the writing. I hate filming. Like, I legitimately
Really,
hate
that's
filming.
crazy.
I hate worrying about lighting. I hate worrying about lighting. I hate editing. I hate all of that stuff. In fact, at one point, the reason why I wasn't dropping was because I wrote, and I have like maybe 50 to 80 skits in my phone and my laptop. Never end up filming because I just hate setting up the camera and doing
Yeah.
it. But you know, I remember some interview somebody said like, as if you can love at least 60% of your job, you have a great job. And so I was like, yeah, I love coming up with these situations, these characters. I love writing. But if it's the filming part, yeah, I love quote unquote acting just because like sort of like playing
Yeah.
these characters is fun. But I don't want to be the guy having to worry about how it looks on camera and what effect to use, and you know what I mean. So that's the part I hate. But yeah, I'm absolutely in love with it. At some point, I even asked myself, like, hey, if I could just write for somebody else and they don't mind being
Yeah.
the face, I was like, maybe I'll just do that,
Mhm.
right? And then it dawned on me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just sort of giving away everything and I'm getting a small piece of the pie when I deserve the whole
Yeah.
pie. So it just didn't make sense. I was like, don't just suck it up and do
Yeah.
this thing, right? Yeah.
Well, for what industry made you start? Because I first saw you around COVID time, like when COVID was first ahead. So
Yeah.
what initially started you around that time? Because I think COVID was like for a lot of people, for a lot of creators, kind of helped them in a sense where everyone's
Right.
at home. So I guess did you look at it in terms of like, okay, COVID, we're all at home. Let me start making more videos. Let me like starting getting out there because there's not that much you could do.
No, no, no. Actually, no, actually, I hated the fact that COVID happened in time. So I was starting out stand up. I started out a couple months in 2018, and then I got a job, and I needed the money, so I took the job, and it took me like way out the city, like I was in the
Hmm.
mountains somewhere, and I was working construction, and for a year I couldn't really do stand up. So I was stuck up there. It's like a small town. There's no real stand-up scene. There's nothing, right? You're just up there. And I realized at that time during that stretch, I was like, I really want to be a comedian because I hate what I'm doing right now. And before it was like a luxury, like, hey, let me go try this out. And in 2019, that entire year, I was sat there like, oh my God, I can't wait get back to Sacramento and do some stand-up. And I even took a couple of sick days just to go back to
Yeah, yeah,
Sacramento and do an open mic or two. And so after 2019, I remember I got a job early 2020. I went straight to stand up, and the job I had would start at like I'd have to be up at 5 a.m. and I'll be from 5 to like maybe, and by the time I get back home, it'll be like 5 to 6
hmm,
p.m. And so I would work in the office and I'd drive back home and I'd have some food and then I'd run to the comedy club and I'd do some jokes. And then by the time I finish with the jokes, I'll be back home. It would be like 12. And then I have, 5 hours until I have to wake up to go back to work. And so the only time I found to write new jokes was during the lunch break at
yeah.
the office. So I'd be writing these like little funny things. I'm like, oh, this funny idea just came to my mind. Just try to
Hmm.
make this into a joke, and then I'll try it that evening. And I did that for like a couple of months, and I did it in front of two guys that just so happened to be comedians and producers, and they came up to me. They're like, "Yo, man, do you want to do a show?" I'm like, "A show? Like I've never been put on a big show.
Hmm.
Like I was so hyped." And this is 2 weeks. This is February of 2020. 2 weeks later, everything
Yeah.
shut down. Um, and so the shows got canceled. and I was like, oh my god, like I'm never gonna win like this. Every time I to find something, I either go wait for work or call, God forbid, like a
Yeah.
COVID thing situation happens. I'm like, I can't catch a break, right? And so COVID, I wasn't thinking about it like, oh man, I can do videos now. I was like, no, this sucks because I can't do stand
Okay.
up, right? And then I realized the principle that I told you earlier was stand up would stand on two things, right? How good you are at your craft, and then how many people actually know who you
Mm-hmm.
are, right? So I was like, okay, look, I can't do stand up right now, but I can work on the second thing, which is try to get my name out there, my face out there. And so that's what I did. So I said, and then by the way, I didn't choose TikTok because I wanted to do TikTok. I chose TikTok because none of my friends and family were on TikTok. They're all on my Instagram and
Mm-hmm.
Facebook and Twitter, whatever. And so I was like, let me go find this weird side Chinese app that is getting popular here and go do skits over there because I know the first few are gonna suck. I'd rather no one see them anyway. Like no one I know anyway. So I go over there and I start doing some videos, and of course, they're cringy, they suck, whatever. And then I remember my first video got like 9 views. I was like, dang, that's terrible, right? And I kept going, and I remember the first video I got that went over 1,000 views. It was like 1,200 views or something. I'm like, hey man, I got something here. Like, by the way, by all stretch of imagination, or by all parameters, this video still sucked. Like it's really bad. It was not
Mm-hmm.
funny at all. But there just so happened to be, I just put in a little bit more effort. I wore like an outfit. I did a little bit of change with the cam. And I think that's kind of like where I saw some traction. And so long story short, I just kept doing that. And then eventually I found out some of my videos are going to like 10K, 20K. And the principal, and then a couple of my friends started moving over to this TikTok app. And I was like, no, they're going to see what I'm doing to me. So what I did is every time a video, I put like a benchmark in my mind. Every time a video did a certain amount of numbers on TikTok, I would have the confidence to post it on Instagram in front of my friends and family. So the number I had was 100,000. If a video hit 100,000 views on TikTok, that to me was worthy of putting it in front of my friends and family. If it didn't hit over 100,000, then it wasn't worth showing to people I care about because their opinion of me at the time was overwhelming. Like I couldn't handle them not being like, happy with me
Mm-hmm.
or impressed by me. So that's kind of where it happened. By it was just by sheer like survival. It wasn't because I wanted to do it. I didn't capitalize on it, but alhamdulillah, it worked out.
Alhamdulillah. You were mentioning because one of your other videos, you like, I guess it was a 3 part of the hater friend, and to me that's really relatable. So did you have anybody in your life
Yeah.
when you saw those? Like, I guess when you started like posting those videos, like, ah, Sammy, what are you doing, wasting your life? Obviously, you probably have those people, but as you said, because you even told yourself that you knew a lot of your videos were going to be trash and like bad in the beginning, mind you. You were telling yourself that because some people always tell themselves it's going to be good, and I hear it with other creators that they won't post because it's like it's cringeworthy. But I'm like, your first 100 videos will be cringeworthy. So for you and always haters, how did you combat that? Like,
No.
what did you like do to tell yourself it's just their insecurities? I'm gonna continue going.
I'm very lucky. I haven't really had any haters. I haven't had anyone tell me like, "Oh, this sucks." I either the video just dies and there's not no comments, or it just blows up and everyone
Mm-hmm.
loves it. Like I've never had you might find like out of some videos a crazy amount of comments, like 20,000 comments. There might be 2 people that says, "Oh, it's not funny," buddy. Everyone has found it funny. I really
Yeah.
don't care. But no, I didn't have too many people who were like, I do remember particular people that I believed were like friends. I don't know, friends of mine, or at least acquaintances that would openly just speak bad about my effort, um, and not exactly hide it. So I remember that night I just went out and I said, Allah, don't allow me to fail in front of these people because I don't like what they are saying about me. I'm doing this for my own future. And it was corny to me because I'm like, how are you mad that a man is trying to change his life? Like, how, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's no different from me. It's no different from me than sitting here watching one of my friends who's jobless applying to jobs, and I'm like, man, look at this guy over here, bro, applying for jobs,
Yeah.
loser. You know,
Agreed.
like, what are you talking
Agreed.
about? Like, so anybody that hey, so I'm like, yeah, I was like, yeah, well, don't allow me to fail in front of these people. Like, I don't want this to encroach on me. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's hard for them not to see how big I
Yeah.
got since that time. I'm not saying I'm the biggest in the world, but like, you know, at the time they might have been like counting me when I had like 10K views or 20K followers or whatever, and then like 830,000 people later and 50 million views in 1 year. It's kind of hard to get away or get away with talking crap because now there's very few people on your side, and also the numbers are not on your side anymore. So,
You know, the reason why I asked you that is because we also started the podcast, but like I guess the first edition of it was in 2018, and then things got changed. Members started leaving, and then 2020 was when my friend who's not here today, is when we took it off and like we kind of like took it together. And I just remember hearing things from my friends. And you made a similar dot where you're like, yeah, Allah, don't make me fail in front of these people, right? And we kind of did the same thing. Because in my head, I was like, I couldn't believe as soon as like you started, because in my head, I would never talk bad about someone if you're going to achieve. You want to go get a job, you want to get your master's, your PhD. I would never be the one to crap on you. Never will be, and never was. Because in my head, I'm like, who am I to tell you what you can and can't do? So in my head, it was so shocking to me that people who I've known, because I lived in the same city for years, and like everybody I know, like I've known for since I was a kid. So I remember like when I would hear these things, I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, why is this bottled up? So when I saw your hater, like the 3-part hater, it resonated with me because when I bought my car 6 years ago, the first thing this person said, and I hope he hears this, the first thing he said to me, bro, you could have got a better deal. I'm like, what? I'm stuck for the law, bro. I'm like, where's mashallah, bro? What do you mean? He's like, oh, you got it in red too? And I'm like, what is going on here? For a good 5 minutes, I'm like, you know, you're like, you want to be happy about your product, but you're just like listening, like the roast of, you know, like when they do the roast of a celebrity. I thought that was me. I'm like getting roasted for buying a car. I'm like, dude, relax. He's like, oh, your dad probably bought it for you. I'm like, well, have you met my dad? The guy would not buy me anything.
Well,
Yeah, but that's what I want to ask.
That's crazy. You know what's funny? So I spent a lot of time just like I spent a lot of time in my own head, and so I contemplated like, how did I? Because when I do comedy, everybody's comedy is different. Most people like raunchy, super like sex sort of type comedy or super dark humor, and then some people just really silly, like they all just dance or take off their shirt, and just like throw stuff in Walmart or whatever, like stuff like that. So it was like I don't know why. I feel I'm a little bit like in my own head, so everything has to be calculated. Every joke and I treat it like I'm writing bars. Like I'm not. These not in my mind. These skits are like ciphers. You know, like every word means something. Every expression, every time I lean into the camera, like all of those things mean something. So I asked myself, like, how did I fall on this hater fan thing? Like, I'm not a hater. I don't actually. That's funny. I'll explain that in a second. I don't hate on people. Like if I see someone doing well, if I want what they have, I will ask them how to do the same. But I won't wish that they don't have it, right? Or I won't wish that we trade places. I just want to also, like, if I see somebody driving a really nice car and I like your car, I'm not gonna wish you ill. I'm gonna be like, yo, how do you make money? Because I'd love to buy the same car. That's a fire car. That's my mentality. I always want to be better myself without having to pull anybody back. But I think it's because of, and I spent a lot of time myself asking, like, where did this, like, hater type, like, because even if it's not hate or fan, you can tell that I'm just, like, a weird, witty dude, always trying to get, like, the last word in, like, and I'm like, well, where did this, like, personality come from in the camera? And it goes back to, like, high school where I had, I lived in Qatar for pretty much my developmental years. I went to high school out there. And so I went to school with some very rich people. And even if they weren't like some of them were part of the royal family, some of them were just also just, some relations, maybe cousins, distant cousins of them. And so they're also very rich. And then you had people who were also expats, who were American, British, Australia, whatever. And they also had very high paying jobs. And their parents might have one or two kids. And their parents don't have exactly people they have to take care of back home. Whereas, for us, it's a little different, right? Our parents usually send them back home. And so I'm living amongst rich people, but I'm not one of them. I'm the poorest of all my friends, right? And so every time, and we're kids here, so I don't hold any sort of grudges or anything, because like we're 15 years old, 16 years old, like these aren't like the epitome of what these people will become, or at least I hope not. But at the time, I'm like, at the time it means more, and then you grow up and realize, we're all just kids, whatever. But I would get like these snide comments of like insinuating that I can't like keep up. Like they're just miles ahead of me. And so I remember one time my dad, he got a really good deal. I don't know how it happened, but he ended up getting a PS3 when they were like somewhat new. And he also got me like an iPod in the same month. And I got those two, and so I bought the iPod to school. If I could bring the PS3 to school, I would have bought that. But I took the iPod to school, and I remember not putting a case on it. And I remember having headphones. This one, the headphone jack was still and I would like hold it and just sit there listening to stuff, and I'd hold the wire and make sure everybody could see that Sammy has an iPod now. Because for the longest time, everybody had phones and iPhones and iPods and iPads, and I had a little tiny Nokia phone, and so this is 14, 15, 16-year-old me, like I needed to show people that, hey, I finally caught up, like I got something here. And I would invite my friends to come to my house to play PlayStation 3. I didn't know I played 3 like that. I just wanted them to know I had one, like, come to your boy's got it now, And I remember hearing one of my friends say to my other friends, that these were like my closest friends. These were like my best friends. And I remember him saying, yo, did you know that Sammy got a PS3 and an iPod? And then the other friend goes, Sammy? Our Sammy? And I said, like, the one our friend group? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. That's weird, because Sammy never gets anything. And I was like, yeah, they know. And I was like, so to me, that was like secrets out, It's one thing that I feel it and I internalize it, but it's another thing that you can see what I see. And, when everyone got their driver license, car, I got my driver license. I drove my mom's car around. It was a RAV4, Toyota RAV4 that had that always shakes once you get past 40 miles per hour. It would start to shake, and you would decide whether or not it wanted to start. So it was just things like that. But I would live in a fantasy life. I would tell them yeah, man, I'm driving my mom's car right now because I'm not sure what car I want. I'm still deciding. And all of this is just lies. It's just fake. But I think I might have internalized how I felt around them, that I now am showing you how that sounds out loud. When I get brand new shoes and you have something to say about them because they're not as nice as yours. I finally got an iPod, but it's not the newest one like you got. I finally got a PS3, but you niggas have had it for 6 months. So apparently it's just I'm just not as good as you, whatever. So I think that's kind of where the Hater Friend series came from. It's when someone gets something nice, I always felt like I was being shadowed. And I was like, okay, I'm going to develop this character that we all hate. Because everybody hates this guy that hates other everybody. Yeah. And so I was like, why not just personify this person? And I feel like that's where it came from. And then when I was intentional about it, when I realized, that's where it's coming from, then I was able to do more and more videos about it. So, by the way, side note, I do want to get back to that series. So I already wrote, I half wrote
Okay,
a
cool.
script.
Honestly,
So
yeah, I'm waiting, man. Because honestly, like I told you, like genuinely, to me at least, they're so relatable. Because when I'm watching a lot of your content, because there's obviously like a lot of content that I see on TikTok. Again, I'm not hating, but I could tell it's over exaggerated, or sometimes amongst like I guess like Muslim Arab influencers who are like now. I feel like they're just recycling like Fusi Tube's
no, no,
material, so I don't really like watching. But for you, to me, it's so funny because you're so believable as that character. And like for example, when it's a hater, like I believe, like nah, like you give me PTSD. Like nah, man, I'm just hearing my boy in my the guy in my ear like talking to me. Yeah, but
yeah, yeah. I think we all, and I think that's my. By the way, that might be a reason why I don't think I get much hate was because I don't try to follow trends. I remember I asked one of my friends, I was like, man, I'm trying to do this TikTok thing. And I've been to a bunch of videos and I'm not getting anywhere. And he says, okay, look. And so he told me, he said, listen, you can get popping like pretty much overnight if you just do what everyone else does. Just do the trends, do the weird dances, do the weird skits that everyone else does. Just don't be original. Just do what they do. Give the people what they want, and you will pop off faster. But if you want to stand out, if you want to actually make yourself known, people can point you out in a crowd, it's going to be a longer hustle, but you have to do what it is that you want to do. Like it has to be your brand of comedy, it has to be the way you do it. And that's going to take longer, but it's going to work out better for you. And because you're trying to sell tickets to a stand-up, people aren't trying to go to stand-up because you could dance online. They're trying to go on stand-up because they could hear the funny jokes. Some exceptions, people just do funny things online that aren't really stand-up like they don't translate to stand-up, but they're funny enough that people just want to see them in real life, and so they come. For me, I was under the impression that if I can make you laugh online with like really good jokes, then you can trust me with your time to come out to a show, and I'll do the same. And so that's the biggest advice he gave me. And I think this is how I got away from never actually having haters, was because I am the hater.
of your own material.
You don't hate on the, uh, no, like I'm
Oh,
already a
okay.
hater. So like, it's clear, you know what I mean? Like, you, so I put a lot of effort in it. So that's one. And so if you don't find it funny, I mean, you're an anomaly. You're
Yeah,
not like
yeah,
the main core people I'm talking to. But I'm also, I'm on your side here, right? Like if I make fun of something, I'm making fun of something that we all hate, right? I'm not this guy who's like, I'm not gonna shit on iPhones because I know most people have an iPhone,
me.
right? But if I do just decide to like hate on some sort of tech, it's not going to be on the popular ones. I'm going to write the jokes at the expense of the less popular ones because I know you guys are all on my side here. And that's just an example. I don't actually know anything
Yeah,
about
yeah,
tech, but when I do make fun of things, I'm making fun of things that we all hate.
for sure.
So you're going to be on my side of the battle here.
It
Does that
makes
make
sense, but
sense?
also like just to add on to your point before I go to my next question, I think I look at when people like when I look at who people I've had on the like I saw you were talking to Abbas Wahab who we also had on our podcast, and I've seen like people who I've had on the podcast, him specifically, and other people when I go through their comments, certain videos or whatever it might be. I think the biggest thing is people hate me due to jealousy or because they're like, oh, I could do something funnier. Like I'm like, for me, for example, I knew growing up I was a funny guy, but I knew who was always funnier than me. Like for example, when I go to comedy shows, I just know there's a difference between being casually funny with your friends versus writing a script for 20 minutes, being on stage, and for example, like bombing. That's a whole different side, which I guess I want you to touch on because people always say, "Oh, I'm funny." I'm like, you're not funny until you can go on stage and try to make someone you don't know laugh because they have to understand your joke and the way you deliver it. So I've always realized that I'm like, I could never go on stage. I just know that me personally. Well, I guess also I got religious over the past couple of years, and I'm like, I don't know. For me, I have to cuss to make things funny, but I think my question to you is like, what do you find is similar and different between making videos and being in comedy. So when you're obviously on stage and making jokes versus you writing the script and like preparing it.
There's a bunch of different types of funny, right? So there's funny to your friends
Hmm.
funny. Yes, there's a casual type of funny, like someone talks about something and then you have like a witty, like, oh, I got a two
Yeah.
word or a quick one liner here. So that's still funny, but you didn't have to build up a premise,
Hmm.
right? If me and you, if you and your friends, your day ones are talking about like shoes, and all of a sudden you throw in a haymaker joke about something that only you two understand from six
Yeah.
days
Yeah.
ago. He didn't have to set up the premise. He just had to say a quick one-liner, and it was like, "Blown, that was fire.
For
That's so
sure.
funny."
Agreed.
So I would say he's funny, but that's not storytelling, right? When you go on stage, you have to be funny. Like the punchline actually has to hit as well, just like that one-liner in it. But you also have to develop the premise. You have to be a storyteller. So I have to set up the joke telling you what happened 6 days ago. This is what happened. That's what happened. And this is my mindset going
Hmm.
through this. You pull them along on the journey and then you hit them with a punchline. And so the difference between the two is just like I learn how to set things up properly. I know how to, the art of
Yeah. Yeah.
storytelling, what parts are not necessary. Because you ever meet those people who try to tell you stories, but then they go on
Yeah.
like
And then you just
tangents,
tell them like, hurry up, bro.
right? Yeah, you're telling four stories at once. You can't do that on stage because people will, they'll just walk out. They're lost, right? And even when you tell the one story, you have to shave off so many things that may not be
Yeah. Yeah.
necessary to how good the joke is. And there's sometimes like the pauses, like if you have a pause long enough for people to be like, wait a minute, and then you hit them with the punchline. So just being able to read a room. So it's the storytelling, it's also the performance of like understanding the performance. Like you have to actually be like physically there and funny. So the physical performance, and then there's the actual joke, the actual the punchline or whatever, and then there's the storytelling, the setup, all of that stuff to be short enough that that you don't lose them, but not short enough where you just you miss out all the crucial
Hmm.
details. And then on top of that, you have to read the room. You have to be able to like feel how they feel. Like maybe this joke is not gonna work tonight because something might have happened 10 minutes ago when another comedian was on stage and they went off, and maybe I'm just gonna not use this joke tonight because it's too sensitive. Or I can feel that the room is a little bit more anxious. They're on their toes a little bit more. So maybe I'll just deliver the same jokes, but maybe I'll just be a little bit more relaxed about
Yeah.
it. So there's that, and then and then there's videos where it's a little bit of the both. Yeah, you're doing the punchline, do all that stuff. You have some of the setup, but the setup is not only verbally. Like you don't have to walk people through it as much as you have to walk through them when you're on stage, because you could just put a title and be like annoying boss. And now all of a sudden people know exactly what you mean. You don't have to be like, so man, I was at work the other day and my boss is one of those kind of guys that comes in late. And you don't have to do all that because on a video, you just write two words and they
Hmm.
understand. So it's a quick shortcut to story. It's a quick shortcut to storytelling. And the punchlines um, don't have to be as strong because you can use your face more.
Yeah. For sure.
Whereas in stand-up, the punchline is that if someone sat all the way in the back, like they need to be able to laugh as hard as the people that sat in front of them, right? Because I came here for stand-up. I didn't come here for facial expressions, right? But on video, sometimes just the way you shoot it, like the zoom-ins, the facial expressions, that is enough to make some people laugh, right? So I would say it's like casual funny, and then video funny, and then stand-up funny. It's just like way harder. I'm trying to difference.
I
Yeah.
fully agree, and I want to ask you, in your opinion, because I've like interviewed different comedians, and my question for you is: is there a difference between going on first on stage versus going on last? Like, where do you prefer going in the middle? Like, where do you prefer as a comedian? Do you
Yeah,
want to go number one, last, or the middle? Because obviously, it could also depend on the dynamic of the audience, of like the comedians before you aren't as funny. So, where would you want to go, preferably?
personally, I like going in the middle, second or third. I mean, it depends, right? If it's an open mic, you got like 20, 30
Mm-hmm.
people, right? So I don't want to go all the way at the end because those people are tired by that time. And you probably lost half the crowd. I don't want to go early because people don't understand expectations. Most people who come to open mics have never seen a stand-up show in their
Mm-hmm.
life. So when they come, they don't know the level of funny that stand-up can provide versus the little TikToks that they watch outside. You're not going to get the same type of stimulus here. It's going to be a different type of funny. And so if you're the first or second, people are just like, oh, this is what this is. Oh, okay. And some people just may not resonate. But me, the sweet spot for me is like in the middle, but closer to the beginning. Is that,
Yeah,
yeah.
because the reason why I asked is that other comedians like the first, because it's interesting you said open mic. Now, the first open mic night I went to was, I believe, 2022. I'm not sure if you know Dave Merhej. He's like he's in the show
Who not?
Rami with Rami Youssef and whatever. And I remember he because we had him on our
Yeah, I
podcast, he
know that
invited
show.
us out, and that was the first time I went to an open mic night. Because in my head, when I think of comedy, I think of like obviously like Dave Chappelle, like or Chris Rock, people who have their material established. They know what does work, what doesn't work. But open mic nights, I guess the comedians time to see what does work, and they want to see it for their own material. So I'm not accustomed to that. So I remember one specific moment, like me and my friend are sitting all the way in the back, and we're kind of like texting each other. But it's again my first experience, and some people didn't. The only people that obviously hit one we had on the podcast, his name is Keith Pedro, and obviously the last one who came to see was Dave Merhej. But it's so interesting because some of the comedians didn't get as many laughs, but then in my head I'm like they're out there putting themselves, and no one's really laughing, and I didn't understand a lot of the jokes, but it was so interesting to me because I'm like, you're right, open mic night. I was confused. I'm like, this is not what I expected. Because in my head, I expected funny jokes, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I have to go to more. And even the guy told me, both of the comedians that I had on the podcast told me you have to go to more open mics to understand. You can't just go to one and you think because a lot of these comedians are still like preparing themselves to like build a brand or like even like their whole comedy.
Yeah. 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 And I've had days where I write a joke and the first time I ever tell that joke on stage, it works. And I'm like, cool. But that's not the norm,
Hmm.
right? I'll tell you the sort of like the journey of it all, right? You write a thing that you think is funny, then you go up there and you try to tell it. And it usually doesn't do well. It bombs. And then you either have to make the decision. Is this something I'm going to scrap or is this something salvageable? Did I get a couple people just like like a little bit of a kind of funny, and then it's salvageable. Maybe I just need to fix up the premise, just punch it up a little bit, make it a little
Yeah.
bit more, wittier, funnier, whatever. Maybe change the context, whatever. And then you come back, you try it again, and you're like, oh, some people laugh, okay, but I still got it. I can make this funnier. And there's a principle that some people believe that a joke is never done. You can always make a joke better and better and better. You can add it with certain things, and you can do something else with it. You can put it in a different order. There's always infinite ways of doing something, but you just need to get it good enough that when you go on a real show, it's polished, it's proven, people understand, like it's gonna hit, and
Hmm.
that's the point of it, right? So when you go to an open mic, you're either going to see somebody start their first joke that they've ever written that night, or it's the first time they've written this specific joke, and so it bombs in front of you. You're like, this guy sucks, but you don't know he's got 30 minutes of
Yeah. Yeah.
fire. That's really funny, but this is just his new
Hmm.
joke. And then you might see somebody who's on like the third iteration of the same joke. He's been working on the same joke for 3 weeks, and so now you hear it and you automatically think, oh, that guy's funny. No, he's just further along in the process right
Hmm.
now. You see what I mean? And this is the good thing, right? Um, the more you do stand up, the more that your first effort is actually pretty good. So the first joke I ever wrote to go and put on stage sucked. But now, if I were to write a first joke and go on stage and tell it, it's going to be miles better than whatever I produced the first couple of years. Not because the joke itself is good, but like I know inherently what works on stage and what
For
doesn't
sure.
work, and so I'm able to just give a better first attempt.
No,
Does that make
absolutely.
sense? So that's just yeah, that's the science of it
I
all.
actually want to like more. I want to dive into a different part. So you did help build a school in Ghana, which to me is like impressive.
So let me clear that up. I remember you saying humanitarian, so I'm not by any stretch of the imagining humanitarian. What happened was I teamed up with a charity company, a charity organization here in the Bay Area, which is out in Sacramento, but they're in the Bay
Hmm.
Area. And they came down and said, "Hey, look, we need eyes on what we're doing." And what they do is they collect money, and then they build like orphanages, schools, clinics, and all that stuff in like rural places in different countries. Some are South America, some are in Africa, some are in the Middle East somewhere. And so they asked me to go with them, and so I went there to document what they do.
Hmm.
I myself am useless,
No, don't
right?
don't say that about
I
yourself,
might
man.
try, I, I might try myself just to help out a little bit
Yeah,
here and
yeah.
there, but I wouldn't say I'm a humanitarian. Those guys are actually in the field doing it. And I went to the field with them for a week. I was in Ghana, and that was tough. Yeah, that was.
Well, I guess in terms of your experience there, like what did you see like that shaped different stories? Like what did you like see that shaped yourself? Like did it change your mindset differently by being there?
Yeah, the crazy thing is two things. One, opportunity. So a lot of the people that were there, they are they are just shy of opportunity,
Hmm.
and for me, my problem is not so much opportunity because I live here. It's more so my work ethic is not up to par, and not because I don't work. I work, but I try to work on 10 different things at once that I never actually get anything done. And so that helped me realize, hey, the man who can't read and the man who doesn't read are the same.
Yeah.
So if I sit over here with all this opportunity, but I don't actually do anything with it, then what good is it being here versus being over there? There's a reason you put here to get stuff done, right? And help the less fortunate.
Hmm.
So that kind of helped me realize, oh, my work ethic is not where I need to be. I really need to take advantage of where I am. And then the second thing was just their outlook on life. I wanted to be the biggest star I could be. I wanted to do all these movies. I was at any cost. And then I go there and I'm like, I've never laughed the way these guys laugh. I've never felt so calm and happy and content with life like these guys are. I don't want what I think I want. I want this. I want what they have. That contentment that they have. That I wake up in the morning, man. We haven't had meat, but we're getting meat one time a month, and it's gonna be a great day. And we're happy we're going to school today because there's a new school that's built in our neighborhood, and you know, uh, just little things. And I'm like, I want that. Like, so then I'm like, okay. I came back and I reshaped everything I wanted to do. And I decided, okay, I'm going to work on feeling content with what I
Hmm.
have. And then whatever I am doing feels like a plus anyway. Like the default isn't, oh, I have a good job, right? The default is that you have nothing and God gave you it,
Exactly.
right? The default isn't that you're healthy and you just don't feel like going to jail. No, the default is that you're sick and unable to do anything, and God gave you health, right? And now you can do whatever you want with those blessings, right? So every time I looked at what I had, I was like, wow, none of this is default. God gave me all of these
Hmm.
things, and that was a different way of
That's
seeing
an
it.
interesting way of looking at it, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. I was gonna ask you, so like looking through your Instagram before like I was speaking with you, it's interesting that you said Anthony Anderson came to your show and he pulled up. Did he like give you any advice after the show? Like, did he like did he speak with you, or was you impressed with what he saw?
No, I don't know how much of it he caught. I think it was just by coincidence. Like he knew a few people that I was with, and I just so happened to be performing that night. Um, he's from Houston. I'm not. I just went there for a few shows, and that just sort of happened. And I was like, it's like when you come out, what the hell? Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
I'm just a TikToker that does stand up. Like, why are you here? So it was just like, it was great. I just took that photo and, I was happy he came. But yeah, no, I don't think we didn't speak much. I just dapped him up, said what's up, and I was telling him.
It is always interesting to me how we as a creator, as a community, as whoever, we always like humble ourselves, but then you have other people who come to see you because they see you in a different light. Obviously, like in your speaking events, like you always try to like give back to the community, you try to tell them like how to improve themselves, and maybe for them they look at you as their guy, as if you want to be like Sammy, right? But for you, just being humble, like you look at yourself differently. So how do you manage that? Like people hype you up in a different way. Obviously, you know yourself personally. So how what's it? Where's the line crossed? Like when someone tells you all this kind of stuff, what like do you try to advise them that this life is not everything? Because you were talking about the default of terms of what you'd have currently, how Allah like provided. So like what do you try to tell people when it comes to doing things on their own, or like don't look at me as this like role model, or idolize me pretty much.
So for me, there's two things. So whenever someone like somewhat praises you and says, hey man, you're amazing, you this, you that, I remember the nights that I was like crying to God, asking for help. And he would just help me sort of pop off and get things going for myself, and then flick up the switch, 6 months later, it's just like, whoa, I'm everywhere. People in Costco taking photos of me, and people asking my dad, if your son's a millionaire yet, and stuff like that, like at the masjid. Like, so if someone says, oh man, Sam, you're the man, I just remember those nights. I'm like, I was crying. Like, if any of this was from my own doing, I would have done it sooner. This isn't me. Like, this happened for me. This happened, you know what I mean? Like, so that's one thing. And then second, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. Like, I don't think people realize I still work my job. You know what I mean? I'm still on the clock 40 hours a week, sometimes more. Nothing's really changed just because people know me for videos, It just makes life a little funnier because sometimes I'll meet somebody and they're like, aren't you? It just makes it a little bit funnier, like, hey, yeah, appreciate you watching my videos and stuff. And it's not like the money is like changes much. Like, if I could have quit my job, I probably would have by now. But it's not like TikTok pays you that much money, and stand up was cool at the time I was doing it. But it's not like I didn't get rich off of none of this stuff. So for me, when someone goes, "Man, you're the guy," I'm like, brother, we're in the same boat. I sell a few more skits out there, and that's it. So
yeah, I do agree with what you're saying too, because obviously I think even for me personally, like with my friend with our podcast, I've only been recognized twice. Because again, I try to stay as low key as possible within the Toronto area. But I remember someone because the thing is, I took up my personal name off of all my Instagram. I just don't want no one searching me or my personal name or my family. So the name you see is like my nickname. So people like I only mention my nickname. People think it's my actual name. Like, bro, I'm not named after a vegetable. But when people say like, "Oh, Waste Podcast, is that you?" And I'm like, yeah. And then but I don't know. I've always found it weird because I don't like people looking at me as like something different. I don't know why. Me personally, I'm just like, I'm still a normal human being. As you said, I still work. I still like chilling with my friends. I'm like low key because I have had people who I have interviewed who have made me feel almost belittled, like in the same industry. So I'm like, I know I always tell myself, if I'm ever big enough in a more respectable, halal, moral way, I don't think I would ever like shoot anybody down because I think it's me personally. I'm a nice dude and I don't like doing that. But I think that's where my question was coming from.
yeah, I think it's easier to not do those kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
if you just remember that anything you have is not from you anyway, right? Like, nothing, like absolutely nothing. So it's hard to have an ego. And I'm saying this not as somebody who's mastered this, but like it's hard to have an ego, playing with. It's like if I gave you some brand
I'm
new
waiting, bro. I
shoes and
want
now
those
you go
shoes.
stun on the next 10 people. Can you read? Yeah, if I did that, right? And you're stunned,
Agreed.
you know in your own mind, I didn't even buy these shoes. Somebody gave me these shoes. So why do I feel like I'm better
Yeah.
than everybody else because I just so happen to be given these shoes, right? So I look at it like that. I'm like, yeah, I was given some things in life, and so if I turn around and brag about it, it's like bragging with daddy's
Facts.
money. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that's daddy's money. That's not yours. You know what I mean? You didn't earn this. And so for me, it's like everything I
Yeah,
have is from
alhamdulillah.
God. So I'm like, I'm bragging with like God's blessings. It's and I know how things fell off for me like real quickly. I remember I even had this in my drafts on Twitter. Uh, I was going, you don't understand, brother. I was hitting 2 million views, a new 2 million views every week without fail. Every time I posted, I went viral. Every time I posted, it didn't matter what I posted, right? I did a skit, it blew up. Did a skit, it blew up. I remember every time I got a TikTok that hit about 1 million, I'll drive around the neighborhood, like go to Walmart or something, pick something up, and I'd walk around like I just had a billboard hit, like I just, I had something out there in the ether that just was killing it. And what I realized, I put in my Twitter drafts, like I wanted to tweet this. I was like, going viral is cool,
Yeah.
but going viral every time is cooler. And I never posted it, but I was like, man, that's hard. And then after a couple of days, I'm like, so wait a second, like it's just like, so I didn't post it, and you know what happens?
Well, mashallah.
For 30, and I did 40 million views in that stretch of time, right?
Still amazing,
Across
bro.
all
Mashallah,
socials,
it's
TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and I wasn't even using TikTok, so Instagram. 40 million views, right? I even traveled. I was in Morocco, and the guy at the airport recognized me. I was like, I don't know, y'all did like live videos here. I thought y'all watch like mostly what's in your like local region, right? So I was like, my mind was like, I'm the one. You know what I mean? Like I'll walk around like I'm the one, and it's kind of just like that. All my ideas dried up.
Really, that's crazy.
For 13 weeks. I couldn't post because I literally had no idea what to post. I don't know what to, like, and every time I thought about TikTok, every time I opened the app, I got anxiety, so I closed it. So I never bought. And then I was like, it's not even like the fact that I kept posting, but I lost the numbers. God showed me that my ideas aren't even mine. I gave you this. Forget about you not making the views. You could try to blame that on the algorithm. No, I'm taking away the source, the idea that you have. You can't even write anything anymore because that wasn't yours to begin with. So I was like, yeah, I can't keep acting like this is all me. Like this is done. And so, alhamdulillah, that kind of like sort of subsided, and I realized all the kinks in my armor. Like, okay, my work ethic isn't where it is. I try to do 10, 15 things at once, and then I stress about things as opposed to just doing them. And so now I live by a schedule. Like I can tell you what I'm doing every day for the next year if I stick to the schedule that I've been sticking to since the beginning of the year. I know exactly what I'm doing every single day. Pretty much almost to the hour.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll move stuff for earlier in the day, later in the day, but I'm doing those every single day. So
That's crazy. I
But,
guess my
yes.
last question, because I know like I don't want to keep you too long on the podcast, but what's your favorite video you've done so far? So you obviously have done a lot. What's one video like till this day it's maybe you consider your best work?
I like the Jennifer video, which is the most viral video I've ever had. I've unpinned it since because I was trying to work with some bigger companies and it just seemed like it could maybe rule some chances. But yeah, I had a skit where I was meeting my friend's girl and she just so happened to be a dude. And so I saw that interaction and that did like 15 million or 13 million or something. And I think that was funny because I only had the idea in my head for like maybe 10 minutes and then I went outside and filmed it. and I posted it, and I just went to class or something, and I just randomly checked, and by the time I got home, it was at 8 million. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is insane. Um, and so that's kind of what I'm known for. But I think the funniest writing that I feel like that might have not done the best. I have too many, man. It's hard to pick, to be honest.
Honestly, I'll even tell you because I was looking at your Instagram like for the past month, and I was like looking at videos. A lot of my friends follow you.
Oh, I
I don't
appreciate
even
it.
know how many people in Toronto. Like, yeah, he's following in Toronto. Even I was telling my
Yeah,
brother,
I was gonna
I'm
do
like,
a
yo,
show in Toronto, just
I'm
because I
coming,
have a
man. I'm telling you,
huge
I'm
following
coming.
there. So,
Inshallah, bro. Like, inshallah, I'm gonna follow you. And I'm gonna message you once I hear you're in Toronto because I'm coming. Because I promised myself I'm gonna go to an open mic night. It has to be someone that I know. Because I'll tell you, the reason why I don't like going to open mic night is I don't want to get picked on by some comedian. Because in my head, I'm like, nah, bro. Because y'all too quick with that shit. You be like,
yeah,
you're thinking on the spot, and I'm like, I'm good.
yeah. I don't know if you'll have that problem at the open mic as much as you will at the show, because open mics, it depends. It could be an amateur, it could be somebody who's like really like honed in, you know. Because for me, like crowd work, I'd get better at it, but it's not one of my fortes. I'm not a crowd work guy. But also like yeah, I have no plan on going to Toronto just yet, but I really do want to go to Toronto. And the reason London and Toronto were the two cities I was gonna definitely
Like
hit
London,
was because
England.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
London. Yeah, I should specify, yeah, because you guys have the London out there, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I was gonna do London, UK, and then I was gonna do Toronto, and that's because like a huge followings there, like to the point where like my cousins who live in London are telling me like, hey man, like people show me your videos and they don't believe me when I tell them you're my cousin, and I have to show them baby photos. Honestly,
That's
uh,
crazy.
yeah,
That is
but
crazy. I showed my brother that you were coming on. He got hyped. He's like, "Yo, I remember watching this guy since COVID." Because in my head, I
yeah,
try to get people like I were watching and like I like love their comedy or like I think my favorite people to interview are comedians because
bro,
comedians are so fun to interview. Musicians are horrible, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Musicians are so hard to get. They're so horrible to interview.
oh, Reagan,
Yeah, because the thing is, I think this one of my questions to you was like the balance between you being real and being on stage. But I think like, again, you can if you want to answer that. But before you answer it, the thing that I realized between comedians and musicians is musicians are trying to keep a brand. They want to make sure people listen to their music, while comedians speak about certain subjects, whether like you like it or you don't, and they try to address it in a way because it's their comedies. It's like what you're here to watch me, you listen to what I have to say. But I think with musicians, a lot of them are a little bit political, and it kind of irritates me because I'm like, I can't get the best out of you. So I'm always like, I feel like I'm a robot. With comedians, I feel like they're so free that they're not scared to say certain things or like they're not scared to get canceled. But yeah, do you feel like that as a comedian, like yeah, you can't be yourself, or you feel like you're free, you can be yourself?
I feel like I'm free to be myself because I'm not an asshole. So I don't feel limited to what I'm gonna say because you mean like there's certain things like maybe gay jokes and transphobic jokes and stuff like that. Like that, I'm not scared to be canceled for those things. I don't think they're, I think we're past that now.
Yeah,
I think they've canceled way too many people that the pendulum kind of like came back and was just like, yeah, you're doing too much now. We were with you in the beginning, but now you know, you're stepping on everybody's toes. Like,
yeah.
so I think the pendulum kind of swung back and so no one really cares. So yeah, you can do crazy humor and still get away with it. I don't think it's like a bad thing. As certain brands may not work with you, and so I might make decisions like that, but free in the sense like, yeah, I can pretty much do what I want. The only parameters I kind of set to myself is like, I don't want to cuss and I want you to be able to watch my comedy with your family and not feel like I gotta mute certain things or item. You know what I mean? But it's not just because I care about people watching stuff with their family. That's a plus. But for me, like again, it's like a religious thing. I don't really want to be out here cussing and doing crazy stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I respect
so
that.
for yeah, so that's the only real parameters I really have.
I appreciate that. Honestly, I feel
Yeah.
bad to like leaving you longer than an hour, but I want to appreciate you for coming on, bro. Like,
No, you're chilling, very chill.
yeah, man. Before we let you go, I want like, where can people find you? on your social medias?
Yeah, all social medias are the W Sammy THE, and then the letter W, and it's Sammy SAMMY. TikTok, Instagram. I don't really post anywhere else, to be honest. So it's just on YouTube also.
What's your podcast called again?
Road Back Home.
Guys, go listen to Road Back Home by Sammy Edan. You guys thought we were done? I don't think so. We still gotta wrap it up. Please follow me at Kusa300. Follow my co-host Muhammad at Muhammad.global. Make sure to follow our page at Instagram. Also, make sure to subscribe to all our platforms. We drop every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Thank you. We'll see you next week.